Hi everyone. So this is going to be our kind of wrap-up video for the course. First, the articles though for the week. That first article by Luli and Fahy really focuses us on thinking about what we're intending our students to learn through group work and to modulate our use of different pedagogical strategies which are appropriate to the age and the subject matter and focus of the course. And it's interesting because, historically, distance education has had a lot of success during doing learner content interactions. That's really what it was all about when it started up, right? Especially when it was, when it was remote and you got materials and through the mail and you did your work and you sent it back. So basically, you had along with the materials, you got some instructive feedback and evaluation, but you were pretty much kind of on your own. And when the internet came along, that model shifted, not pedagogically, but just to incorporate the internet. So if you look at a lot of how Athabasca courses, some of them anyway, are run, depends on which level. They look very much like the distance education courses of old, except that they're using the internet as a kind of repository for materials and for easier exchange. There's more electronic exchange of feedback and so forth. And it's that kind of model, that pedagogical model, that really sort of inspired that much vaunted phrase of anytime, any place, anywhere learning, and it's a very different kind of model pedagogically than the kind of learning we've been doing in this course. And I think this discussion-based, very constructivist way of doing online teaching, is more the exception than the norm, because even within OISE, there's a lot of variability, as many of you will know, and I think as you've probably been experiencing, it works best when students are really engaged and when they have the encouragement and opportunity to really take charge of their own learning and kind of hold the reins themselves. And that's really a challenge to do in some of the contexts that you're teaching in, like particularly with adolescents. Sometimes I think it's actually easier to do this work with little kids, because I think when you introduce them to this sort of approach when they're younger, they kind of really get into it, and it's only that we've socialized our students to respond to the kind of, the way our schools are structured, and so they don't get an opportunity to do that very much. And then by the time they're adolescents, aside from all of the hormonal excitement, there's also the fact that they're used to everything being done a particular way, and they assume they've already got kind of attitudes towards that, and so it becomes a real challenge to shift those things, I think. In this discussion also, people mentioned IRRs, Independent Reading and Research Courses, and I just wanted to mention, some of you didn't know about these, and I just want to mention a bit about them from the faculty point of view, because I think they do provide a really good opportunity for students to do some study in an area that where there isn't a kind of specialized course, and it allows them to kind of get to depth with a particular subject. I think sometimes faculty may not always be willing to do this, and it's partly, you may wonder why, it's because we don't actually get any credit for this. It's not considered as part of our workload, which you might wonder why that is, but it's a long and complex tale. But it isn't really. It's basically something a faculty member. It's not counted as part of our teaching, and so when faculty do it, it's more of a kind of whoops, is my Skype bubbling away there? I'm going to turn it off. It's more of they're out of the goodness of their heart, in a sense, and because they may be interested in that particular area too. And I have done those with students. I've done fewer recently just because of time, but anyway, so just so you remember, if people are, it's really it's at the time and the discretion of the faculty member. But don't get rid of it as an idea, because I think they can be very useful, actually. That those 10 core principles of Bodich's article, it produced a lot of interesting discussion about the value of each of these principles, and I must say I like all of the principles. For me, this article is nice because it summarizes, it it points out, first of all, it's not too simplistic. These are huge. If you look at each one of these principles, they're huge, right? They're but it takes the best of the research over or in the learning sciences and other things, but particularly the learning sciences over the last 50 or 60 years, and but in addition, contextual, really recognizes the importance of context and the complexity of what is going on here. So, and it doesn't make the classroom a simple place, which, as of course you know, it isn't. So, but it's important that complexity be sort of represented in there. It also highlights a lot of the ideas, I think, that we've covered at different points in the course, like context, situatedness, those sorts of things, bringing knowledge into students coming with their own knowledge and having to work with that. And it sort of re-emphasizes and refocuses them a little bit. So having students, why it's important to have students make thinking visible through the discussion, inquiry, the kind of thing that we're doing in this course, and why that matters. And the concepts of more than words, they're kind of emerging ideas that will develop over time. And that's, for me, is a big piece of why, even though these are hard readings, I know that all we're doing here is kind of sowing seeds, and then later on, you will take up the things that resonated with you and you'll investigate them further if you want to do more work with them, either related to your own practice or in relation to further academic work. But that's all you can do. I know that you're not going to get the full-blown notion of a concept, because it's even an idea like situated learning, which you have a definition for and some understanding of in context. The more you read, the more nuance that has. The same with an idea like communities of practice or what knowledge building is. We've begun this path, or down that path, but your own experience will allow you to elaborate those concepts later. And I think those are the kinds of things that she's getting at in Buttigieg's article. Quinton, yes. So this idea about connecting universities to the bigger culture made me think about the department now and what's going on here, because we're in this moment of transition because of the 2-year program, the BEd program being changed from a 1-year to a 2-year program. We are spending a lot of time trying to open up possibilities as we think of expanding our MT program, because some of those spaces will be taken up through the Masters of Teaching program, where you get teaching certification and an MEd degree. And one of the challenges, and it seems like it seems simple, but it has huge consequences, was that we always had, the BEd was always on a different schedule than the graduate programs in all the departments. So we could never get people together. We could never have the faculty sit down on the same day because oh no, we're out on practicum, or oh no, we're doing this, we have a such and such day. And so we could never find times to talk. And so we're not doing nearly enough collaborative research, and we're not engaging those students in the kind of research-informed practices that go on at the university. So there isn't really reciprocity, or hasn't been to date. And because the MT program is within the CTL department, and it is a graduate program as well, we'll be able to engage our students and our partners, schools and school boards, much more in joint research, engaging our students in seeing more aspects of academics as connected to the real world, and to be able to situate our academic work in a much more contextual way and a much more authentic way with schools. This is my hope, and this is the first time I've ever really seen us where there's a real kind of possibility that we can go on doing that. And I think it paves the way for new research collaborations and maintaining ongoing connections with our graduating students to remain part of the COP that they established while they were here for 2 years, and then continue those connections as they move out into teaching, and hopefully they will later become our associate teachers as part of our program. And so I see because they'll understand the intent of the program more deeply. So I really see a lot of hope for this, and a kind of exciting kind of new era as we develop that. And I think I'd mentioned earlier in some other week in one of these videos about how we're going to try, or no, it was in a note, but how we were going to have people stay connected electronically after they graduate. I've been wanting to do this for years, and finally we can do it with Pepper because we can do what we want, because it's nobody's paying for email, so we don't need email. You can connect directly and maintain those connections. So that's the sort of goal of that. What I wanted to do really was just to sum up the course a little bit, and to thank you for your engagement and for what I've learned from the time I've spent with you, and will continue to as I read your final assignments. I look forward to reading those, actually, as I think there's some really fine pieces of work being developed out there, and it's always fun actually reading final papers. I enjoy it. And each class is unique, but I feel very good about this class, and particularly for me about the Critical Theories Week, because I've only been including that in the last couple of years, really. I've been moving more in that direction and really trying to sort of open that up as part of my own scholarly space. And so each time I do it, I try to engage more personally and really think about how this material must influence my own pedagogy and what is engaged, what goes on there. And I feel like I've gone further in this class, so I feel kind of proud of myself for doing that. And what I saw in return was that I have a sense, and maybe I'm deluding, but from some things that different people have said, I think that there's a greater sense of community trust in this course. I feel that quite sort of tangibly at this point. So that's really exciting. I also thank you for your great suggestions in the Start, Stop, and Continue. If you haven't contributed this, please do. You're welcome. And you don't have to put your name here. Some of you have. That's great. If you can do it anonymously, it's fine. Because it is a shared note, so I won't know unless you actually put your name after. And one of the things that I will do is to try to do something more about this facilitation for the next course, because I realize more that my online course provides, both of them actually provide this kind of both the content but also the experience and the modeling of online teaching. And I need to expand that experiential part, I think, really, and capitalize on it and make sure it's properly acknowledged and supported. And I realize I haven't. Sometimes I get stuck on the content, and that's what I've been doing the last couple of years, is focusing on that. So I think I'm going to think more particularly about this, and how I can encourage and support the student moderation piece, because it is very important, and I think it's a really good learning experience for you guys as well. So I wish all of you great success in the future. I'll be putting up marks later in April. Don't forget to send me the following pieces of work for this course. People often forget, and I end up panicking at the last minute and sending you emails. Please let us not do that this year. So you have to send me your final assignments. You have to send me an email or a private message with your self-assessment grade for your learning journal. If you don't know what all this is about, if it sounds Greek, look here, learning journal. And here's the rubric. Use the rubric. Pick a number and tell me why, or a number between. You can do like 3.5, whatever. But just give me a justification, a short, a few sentences. It doesn't have to be a tome. Just sort of why you're giving yourself that grade, and that is the grade that I will give you. It's not that I don't play a game with that. That gets put right in there. And remember also to complete part 2 of the course. So sorry, this assignment 1. You remember you did your current theory of learning and how it connects with teaching and educational technology. Well, I want you to do part 2 of that, and use it. Do a reply or a build on to your first one, and it where all this goes. It all lives in this class theories of learning and technology. So just go and do. You see, some of you wonderful people are already doing that. So just to just to encourage you to remember to do that. So there's 3 things. So self-assessment grade for learning journals, part 2 of the class theories of learning and technology, and the final paper. I think that's it. Good. Okay. So once everything's in, I'm going to send you individual written feedback, probably by email, with a focus this time on the final assignment, and I'll give you some feedback on that. In the meantime, make sure, feel free to ask questions as you move towards your final project. Notice that some people are looking for people to help, like Christina put this in recently, today or yesterday, junior grade level also. So if people are interested in that grade level and want to work with Christina, please get in touch. So make sure you look at those things, and so that people get connected up. And do feel free to ask questions as you craft your final projects and papers. And you will have access to this course conference after the course is over, so you don't have to feel like you have to suddenly copy everything out of there because there might be something you've missed. You can come back at a more calmer moment and look for that. It'll still be here. I won't be closing it off. So I think that's about it. So thank you very much. It's been a blast, and I look forward to reading your final papers. I'm off next week. I'm going to be not next week, tomorrow. I'm going to Philadelphia for the American Educational Research Association, and I know a couple of you are going to that too. And I will be back the following week, but I'll be on email while I'm away, and I'll be able to connect in. I will be connected. I will stay connected with the database too. Okay, so it's been fun. It's been fun knowing you, and I'll look forward to your final projects. Take care. Bye-bye.